fine.
I got called to a house one day. As a matter of fact, I did the funeral. I got called to a house of some people I didn't even know. And the lady, it was a friend of a friend, and the lady called me outside. And I went outside with her, and she said, all indications is that this was not an accident, it was suicide. And she said, but we never saw any signs. She says, can you help me try to figure this out? And so I went through the signs about giving stuff away to the right people, you know, and different things about, you know, losing the interest in stuff and getting a loan and even searching ways to do it. And she went, you know what, everything I gave her, she said, that was here, and we didn't know. And then I kind of felt bad, because then now they're really feeling upset because the signs were there and they didn't know. As a matter of fact, yesterday he gave one of his last things away to one of his people. So if you don't know, you don't know. But that's why it's good that we are teaching stuff like this. Everywhere, every church should be teaching stuff like this. And every organization that's to help people should be teaching stuff and having something to look at, because in this day and time, suicide is rampant. And also in this day and time, there's a lot of people grieving, and we don't understand this grief, and so we think they've lost it. We think that the cheese has fell off the cracker, and it hadn't. They're grieving, and if we'd understand that, again, we quit putting the cast on their leg because they're limping, and put the cast on their arm is broke. So
I can go back and just look right here as you were going through it. He started gambling a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The friends he kind of shied away from, kind of withdrew.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, maybe that was part of the, you know.
He was grieving. There was definitely grieving too. If he never married, that was his significant. And I don't mean this in a crazy way. I mean this in a just wholesome way.
That's what he was living.
It was his significant other. Okay, not his wife. None of that weirdness. I'm just saying it was his significant other. Right. And so he lost. That's right. That's right. Okay. Spiritual effects. Angry at God. And then people get angry at God and I say, and I'll ask them, I said, oh, are you angry at God? And they'll go, oh, no. And I'll go, you know what? Number one, he's a big God, he can handle it. Number two, he already knows. So are you angry at him? But if you put it that way, yes.
Why didn't he fix it?
Why didn't he fix it? Why didn't he do something about it? Yeah, it's really kind of weird, because not weird, it's how God works. Let me change that. There was a situation I was working through just a couple nights ago with all this going on with my mother-in-law, and we're trying to get everything straight and getting it moving. And before I got in the car, I said, can you just take it away, God? Can you just get rid of it? Can you just, you know, is there something else you can do? Make it different, something. And I turned on the radio to a preacher. Immediately turned on the radio. Immediately. The preacher said, and why are you asking God to take the problem away? Okay. That was the first thing out of that preacher's mouth. And I said, so I turned it up. And he said, don't you know at the end of this thing, you're going to, look, he didn't say these words, but you're going to be better than new. Because God's purifying you and working a process in you. Gold's coming. So again, you know, God's got you. But angry at God. Doubting, and when Beverly died, I saw this in a lot of people. I saw this in the in-laws, and I saw this in some of my kids. And even and saw this in some other people that were very close to Beverly. Doubting the love, the fairness, and the faithfulness of God. If God loved her so much, why would he let her die at 38? She was a school teacher. She was doing good. Why would he let this happen to her? And I said, the Lord knows what's going on. You're not gonna outthink him. You definitely can't think ahead of him. You know. And I even had somebody get mad at me and say, get mad at me because I wasn't angry at God. And I said, why should I be angry at God? He knew what was going on. He started preparing me for this 6 months before she died. God was working. He was at work. Okay? Then fear of God and dread about the future. Now you've gone to the other extreme. Instead of doubting it, now you're pulling it to you. The fear of God, you dread about the future. You're afraid of God. You're afraid that God's going to zap you. And you're afraid of what's coming in the future. Then an inability to pray or read the Bible. Withdraw from spiritual activities. You know, I've seen people over the years that quit coming to church. And then they'll tell me something like, well, every time I come to church, I'll see my mama right there. Or I'll see my daddy. Or my husband. Or my wife. And I just can't take it. And I tell them, if you want to get over this grief, you need to come. Because you've got to face it. If you don't face it, then it can't be healed. You got to face it. And see, it's like, Wayne, that was the most awesome story about that little baby. About once the Shriners got a hold of him and what happened. It was amazing in just a little while what they done instead of waiting for her. Because I remember when I was a little boy, I saw a woman. I was with my grandmama, and I went to somebody's house. I think it was on 2nd Street, way on back in the day. And this woman was an older woman in a wheelchair. And her feet were like this. Because she would probably, she'd be 100 years old now, if she'd lived. But I couldn't fathom my feet being the way her feet were. And I've had friends that had to sleep in the board with their feet like that. But if nobody would have treated her, that baby, she would grow up and never be affected. She'd be affected in other ways, but she could not reach her full potential because she wouldn't be able to walk.
I wonder why doctors don't suggest that themselves. I don't understand.
It's the dollar sign.
Exactly right.
That's why a lot of this cancer stuff and these drugs is dollar signs.
Doctor that operated with money said we don't charge them nothing.
Just like now, when you go to a doctor, you had to go 3 or 4 times before you get well. Where you used to, they would get you right the first time.
You go there, a lot of times you go in just for a consultation. Okay, you're like the dentist. You go to the dentist, you get a consultation, then come back. Doc, I'm actually hurting right now.
You go to physicians, each 3 days later, you get a bill for somebody that said, I can't see this doctor.
Yeah. Okay, so you got an inability to pray, read the Bible, withdraw from spiritual activities. Then, and then there's questions about why God allowed the loss. Why? I've grown to believe this. Sometimes we see kids die young. We see people die young. We see people die all kinds of ways, and we wonder why did God allow it. But you know what? If my young'un was going to wind up a year or 2 later, it's like Hezekiah. Hezekiah was told he was going to die. And God said, he turned his face to the wall and he prayed. I mean, that's just cool. That's an awesome message there. About you take everything out of your way when you're praying. Just concentrate on God. And God added 15 years to his life. But the problem was, if he'd have died when God said he was going to die, he would have died the most successful king. But when he died broke, busted, and disgusted. Because he went and showed people what he had. He showed, the Queen of Sheba. He showed all this stuff going around everybody, and he wound up losing everything. And so again, what if God allowed the person to die this year and actually saved them from something a whole lot worse?
I've heard that, and that makes, at that time you may not understand that, but you can later that there was something that could have been much worse for that person, and it was better then, even if they were young.
It could have been much worse for her. I've often thought about my daughter I lost. I might not have been prepared to deal with it if she had lived. With whatever might have,
Yeah. It's like that little girl I keep seeing, and every time I find myself wrestling about something, I run into her almost immediately. That little girl with no hands, and she's in a wheelchair, and she's got her body's all spotted up, and I see her trying to shop, and she got a little headpiece on, and I'm thinking, and I'm complaining, God, please take me to you take me to the woodshed, I'll pick my own stick.
I mean,
You know?
you can just whiz around. all
Yeah,
over.
yes you can. But I mean,
When my son died, I asked God why. And Jesus finally answered me that night. He said, ask not why, because it's beyond your ability to understand.
yeah.
Some things are
That's right.
unexplainable.
Yeah, why did Beverly die at 38? After all that struggle to go through college at a later age of life, and only been doing it for 5-6 years, you know, why did all this happen? You know, or you see somebody that there was a young man that he had some kind of disease, but he was one leg was shorter than the other. He was a little bitty thing. Although he was a grown man, he was smaller than James Allen, but it's like this, and he had like a big old chest, and his legs one a little longer than the other. But that boy could sing, and he'd go up to camp meeting, he would sing, and the place would go ballistic, because he sounded, I mean, it was amazing, his singing. And one night he got sick, and it was over. But you know what? It could have been mercy. Because what if he would have gotten so bad, you know, why, you know, I hear people, I've been told this, I can't tell you how many times I've been told when somebody's going through something, and they say, I wish I had died and had to go through this. I've heard that so many times. And I'll tell you this, you know, when Daniel was sick, and on his first birthday, when they said he had cystic fibrosis, he wasn't to be 17, and they were teaching Bear how to beat his back, and I was praying one night in the house, and I said, Lord, I will gladly take his place. And the Lord spoke back to me as clear as a bell and said, you can't, but my son did.
Right.
And he was healed the next day.
Wow.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing. Like I said, the doctors just told us over the years, when he was 12, when he was, you know, whatever, now we think the cystic fibrosis, no, it's not. I don't want to hear it. And a 30-year-old, no. You know, and what gets, and I think about this too, Daniel, they told him he had a broken back, and it looked like he had a severed spinal cord. And I told that story when he got in that wreck. But it's amazing that 6 months later, he's jumping out of helicopters in Afghanistan. You know, God's awesome.